It's easy to follow.
We tried.
It's a little clearer than it ever has been.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Chad?
really,
Chad, I'm sorry, would you, look, there is someone
It's our
here.
new board member.
It's our new board member. Would you,
Nate, I can go out and type in.
is Ann still there?
going to be live.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that they found their way up to Andrea. Okay, thank you. But I have a
You casting
question.
Terry? I'm sorry.
We are live.
We are live.
With, with the tennis courts, is there a fee if they use the lights, or there's a fee for anybody to play tennis?
Can we wait till we get to the fees section?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that section as well. And so it's not right in front of me right now, but we'll talk about that.
Is there any way, I mean, I agree, it's as clear as it's been in the few years that we've been working on this, but if there's any way to like embold and say, you know, these are the defining use categories and then the priorities. So if all of a sudden you're part of the, you know, section 4 or 5 people and you want to bump someone in section 1, I mean, to me, it makes perfect sense. It's 1 through, what do we say, 6 now?
Mhm.
But if there's just a way to draw it in, you know, all caps, all bolds, underline something, so that, you know, it's perfectly clear. If that makes sense. Tony, you're looking quizzical.
I am quizzical, underline, let's say bolder, underline, which,
Or if we could just somehow emphasize, look, you know, if you want to use facilities and you're on 3 and someone in 1 has it, then that's the way it happens. And this is the approved policy.
But would we want to make it a practice of having to tell them who that is too? I mean, I don't want to, that's,
Well, no, I mean, but just
Yeah.
so people looking, like if the Legion
I
all of a
gotcha.
sudden wants to use it and
Yeah.
they're number 3, but they can't because it's already scheduled. Why can't I get it? Well, because you're 3 and someone, we don't name the organization from 1
Gotcha.
or 2, has it scheduled. That's all I'm saying.
And
flow chart.
once something is scheduled, we don't bump.
yeah, I was
someone
gonna
else.
say.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Okay.
Didn't we buy software to do that too? Do I remember that? Or was that for athletics only?
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about it. We
Yeah.
wanted to do it, but it's.
And it
hasn't
happened right at the same time. I remember that.
We did buy it.
Okay.
The Our School Today package.
That's what it was. Okay, thank you. Yeah,
to recode the locks and schedule, the scheduling and the recoding are 2 different things. Is that right?
There's a scheduling piece for facility use as well.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Which
what
I
I was
believe,
remembering.
Ginger has control of.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
all right.
So let me work on that. Basically, maybe a statement that just says, you know, once the facility is scheduled, another organization, regardless of where they fall in the priority list, they don't bump another organization. The only ones that do the bumping is the district.
Just 1.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, right, if the Legion schedules something and then the PTO wants it that night, they can't have it.
Correct,
The Legion got there first.
correct.
so to
Yeah, they
speak.
went through the
Again, it makes
process.
perfect sense to me, but for others,
Yeah, yes. So just to clarify that the only one, so the Legion could have something scheduled, but then, yeah, we go into playoffs on something. We have that space and they are out. We'll get into the contracting stuff, but
Right.
I think it would be good to have that, as a clear,
Okay.
clear
All right.
statement.
I'll work on that. So then if we move along, the other big change, or changes are on page 3. So on page 3 at the top, we are recommending that the requests be submitted 3 weeks in advance. Except of course, there are extenuating circumstances, and when that's the case, then of course they'll be accommodated, or it will be considered, I think that we said, on an individual basis. The current policy gives you 2 weeks. And the reason why we switched it to 3 is under number 7. This is another big change that in the past, we did like a deposit, right? And if there was a fee. Now we're saying that people need to pay in advance. And part of this is because folks weren't paying.
Right.
We would charge and then they weren't paying. And our office staff upstairs were sending bills and invoices repeatedly. A year would pass. So there is that, and I think then we also added that failure to pay will result in the contract just being null and void. It'll be done. So that way it gets out our business office away from having to chase people down. And then if for some reason we overcharged, we'll reimburse. We'll absolutely reimburse. So we talked a long time about that.
Right, people weren't paying, and then that 2 weeks, actually, number 7, 2 weeks, and the 3 weeks in number 1, are those?
They have to request 3 weeks in advance of the event,
And paid 2 weeks.
2 weeks in
And-
advance.
Yeah, okay.
The other big change is on page 4. I don't know how much of a big change this is, but that working with the boosters, we decided that people can't rent the concession stands outside. Those are really owned and managed. There's insurance and everything else by the boosters. So that should not be used by anyone else. Now, if there's a group that would like to have concessions, they certainly can reach out to the boosters and ask the boosters to provide concessions. That's always an option.
I'm thinking possibly if it's a fundraiser that benefits the school, possibly they could use the concession, if Veronica wants to be involved or something, because there are different fundraisers you might have that involves food, because food is a really great fundraiser.
We are able to, if we want to provide some food, we can do it out of our food service department, out of the cafeteria. But we have an agreement, if it is a fundraiser that involves their building, their space, their equipment, they would have to be involved in that. Whether they would give the money to us, I don't know, we would have to negotiate and talk.
Well, and this was like more for a school fundraising event,
Yeah,
maybe for the senior class or something of that type.
okay, I can't think of any right now, but certainly that could happen, right? I just can't think of any times in which it has. Do you guys, can you think of that?
They would be using the boosters
Yeah,
concessions for a fundraiser outside of that. I can't. think of-
but I mean, it could, so yeah, but
Good.
we would involve boosters, right? Okay. Let's see, and then failure to cancel the use of the facility 7 days in advance of the usage will result in the organization being charged all of the expenses with the rental and may result in the loss of future usage. So one of the big complaints that we heard that happened at the middle school is that an organization would block all of these nights off, right? That they were using the facility and then they wouldn't use the facility.
Yeah.
And it would therefore prevent someone who wanted to use the facility. And so people behind the scenes were so mad, it's like, I drove by, you said it wasn't available,
Oh,
and no
okay.
one was there.
Yeah.
You know, it's
gotcha.
your fault, administration, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
It was painful.
well, you'd have a lot of people book like the entire, when they went there, they just booked it out all the way out until the end of the season.
Right.
No, right.
So we're not doing that. So that's the reason for this language. So that's the policy itself. And then,
I just have one correction at the top of it, sorry, my thing. Back to number priority use of facilities, number 2, Roman numeral 2, benefactors to MSAD11 parenthesis and must have a governance board. Benefactors to MSAD11, no and must have a governance board. Does that sound right?
yes, it does. Awesome. Thank you.
And
Great
everything else.
catch.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, so that was it for the policy.
Great. Then let's get to the fees and rates. So Teresa, this is where your question was. So let me just
Right.
go through this quickly. It's 2 pages. 1, there's no effective date. You'll see. I will need you to decide what the effective date
Yep.
will be or make that recommendation to the board. On this particular page, I tried to do similar to the policy by identifying what the priorities are and what they mean. Our previous form didn't have all of that detail. So what would sometimes happen, people would look at this, or they would look only at the application, and they wouldn't reference back to the policy. And so people were unintentionally being placed in the wrong priority. So I put this here hoping that it will clarify for folks and we'll have fewer misclassifications in the future. So let's see. So you'll see that the plan is priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's really no rental fees for those. Then for youth groups that start in priority 5, priority 6, priority 7, that's when we have the fees associated with them. Now, the ATM room at the high school, that's highlighted. Let me remove highlight. I highlighted that because in the past, our policy said that it couldn't be rented. And so we've kind of talked about it saying, it is used. So there's no reason at this point that we shouldn't have a rental fee like any other space. So it was suggested to me, I think it was Terry, to put in the $15 an hour, the $20 an hour, and the $25 an hour. So, okay, so Teresa, your question about the lights, are you talking about the field lights?
So I guess what my question is, being a old, long time ago tennis player, that we would just like go to the tennis courts and play tennis, and it was free.
Yeah.
So I'm
that's-
asking if that is still the way it is, the charge would be if they had lights at night. Am I?
So if a couple people just want to go and play, if they're available, you can just go and play. That's totally fine. I don't know about are there any lights?
There are, but they don't work.
Oh, okay.
Already.
Well, that's good to know. The lights that we charge, the lights that we charge for are the field lights over Hope Field. That is, if those lights are not turned on properly, we get an automatic fee of like $800, right?
$800 the last time.
If they're all turned on at the same time, we get an $800 fee for that one time. Mine, that doesn't even include the usage. So they're really expensive to operate. So we do have to charge. There is a way to get around that $800. And that is that each light has to be turned on in 15-minute increments, right? Is it 10, 15
15
minutes?
minutes.
So it takes an hour to be able to turn on all the lights to prevent that charge at $800. It's like a surge, like a
Yeah,
surge.
service fee or something.
It's like because of the amount of energy that if you turn them all on, that they're requesting, it's like a surge.
Creates a
And
power
so-
surge.
And so that's why we get that fee.
So if Gardner Youth Football wanted to use Hope Field in the evenings, say on Friday night or Saturday, when we're not using it, it was $75 an hour and $100 an hour on top of that.
They are, for lights, yes. Now,
So
they
it's
do not
100
get charged to use the field. There's no charge to use the field. Right? Because Hope Field, they would be number 4. There's
Well,
no
youth-
rental
It
fee,
says youth organizations, priority 5.
but that's youth organizations that are outside. If we go back to
Okay.
the
got it.
priority
All right,
list,
yep.
that's a Gardner Youth feeder program. I call them the student feeder
Okay.
program.
Yep.
There would be no fee, but there would be $100 an hour fee for the field lights. Okay?
Should we change 5 to other youth organizations, or I'd almost say outside youth?
I was gonna say non-gardener, but then it sounds kind of weird,
Yeah,
right? I know. Yeah.
I don't want to
Other,
I think,
Non-residential.
because it could be some Gardner residents. I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Non-district.
I mean, this is really gonna make this is gonna make like folks like Corey really happy, right? Because they're not
Absolutely.
getting charged anything now.
Right, right. I'm
Um,
happy as a PTA chair.
Yeah.
I'll pay the custodial fees.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
This is good.
so according to the language that we recommended,
Yeah.
it's organizations and groups that support youth in the area. So you could say other youth organizations. You could say other area youth
I
organizations.
like that one.
That's good.
Because it's inclusive, but it also like separates them out that they're not that direct feeder, which is why we brought 4 into the.
Right, yep. All right, then, again, I adjusted this, sheet, the fees and rate sheet to match the policy. So when I tried to bold and underline the most important things about must be paid 2 weeks in advance, that the checks are payable and that cancellations must be made 7 days in advance.
And if they leave you a mess, you charge them too.
And if they leave a mess, we'll charge them. Then, sorry,
No, I said very good. Yep.
then, the last packet, we have a lot of paperwork when it comes to facility use. So the last one is the actual application.
Can we lose that comma after event? These organizations that do not clean up after an event will be charged. It's just a.
Yep.
I don't want them to pause there. I want them.
Right, exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
So on the facility use, it really is, it's the application. And then we try to incorporate everything from the policy into this at the same time. Now, if you look on the first page and under the priorities, there's just no way I could fit in that same
No,
level of
no, no.
specificity and all of that detail. It just wasn't possible. The underlining, I will fix that. I was really trying to underline the new language there for you to see, but that would be eliminated before it went out.
Should we change the footer, Pat, with the new date, new revised date? on that?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting until we got
Yeah.
through this, but that would be changed too, yes.
Yep.
And
Pat, I have a stupid question.
There are no stupid questions.
Yeah, I challenge that.
I knew you would.
With regards to using Hopefield and getting the lights turned on in the proper sequence or whatever, because I'm looking at, auditorium tech or whatever else, is it assumed that if someone schedules Hopefield, that someone who knows what they're doing turns on the lights? If they want to play at 6, then at 4:45 or 5, someone who knows what they're doing is turning on the lights.
very excellent question. That was not stupid at all. And in fact, Matt, I was asked to recommend and add to the policy, but I forgot until you asked that question.
Was he a plant?
He was not a plan, but you could have asked a better question.
Are you volunteering, Matt?
So it was
I don't want to charge
recommended.
1,600 because I probably screwed up. Turn them on, say, oh crap, shut them off, and then turn them back on wrong again.
2 surges, 1
No, it was recommended because of that. And just, other factors with our new field, that there are other sports complexes, other school districts, that they do require, if you're going to use the field, if you're going to use the lights, that you have to hire someone who is going to help oversee and make sure that the lights are turned on correctly. That particular building is locked, or those lights are locked, just so you know.
Okay.
So not anyone can just go in and turn them on.
Yeah.
You have to have a key or, right, a combination or whatever it
Yes.
is. And so what did you call, Nate, what did
So-
you call that person?
Yes, the site coordinator. So every facility that we have rented, for soccer, football, field hockey, whatever it might be, for artificial turf, their athletic director has been there as a site coordinator. So we pay that athletic director $35 to $50 an hour, whatever that fee might be. Because I think it's essential. We're turning on the lights, we're putting in officials where they're supposed to go, for making sure the scoreboard is set up, PA system is ready to go. There's just a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of, and we're the ones who know where it is.
And that sounds really reasonable.
So let me check with Andrea, because we all know that there are additional fees,
Right.
and see what seems reasonable. You said 35 to 50?
Yes, there's a range.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to go on the lower end. I mean, if we have like, youth football, I don't want to be charging them $50 an hour if I
Yeah.
don't need to. So let me check with her. And if you're all in support, then I will add it under other fees.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I will call it the Hoke Field Site Coordinator so that there's no question. Okay.
And do they stay for the whole event so they can shut everything down? too?
Yes.
I will also add on this page, I will add something that says, the site coordinator, the Hopefield site coordinator must be hired in order to
Oh,
use
right.
that.
So it's not just really nilly.
So would you have a separate contract for them, Pat, or would that just fall under the contract?
It would just fall under the contract.
Actually, Pat, you could probably add it to the field lights, parentheses, site coordinator.
I was actually gonna put it under Hopefield.
Oh, that too, yeah.
And then under the application, I would have to put something here as well.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Oakfield site coordinator. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Matt. Nate would have been so mad at me if I'd forgotten it. All right, so we'll take care of that. And then, again, the rest of the application, I tried to go through, update to reflect the changes in the policy. So I don't know if you had a chance to review it, if I missed anything. Once this was completed, I distributed it to all of our administrators. So our entire administrative team who helps manage and oversee this, they had an opportunity to provide some input. So that's the proposal.
Very thorough.
And we will put this policy to rest for another 19 months.
Because something
Until
else
somebody
will.
throws a wrench at us.
Right, we will have missed something.
What about an effective date? What do you think?
The new year?
Well, basketball season is starting right now.
Why don't we make it effective, I don't know, November 1st?
You
Can we?
but you can't because it is, what's today, November 4th. So the first time this is going to get to the school board is December for a first read. And then in January, it's a second read. So it doesn't actually go into effect until the conclusion of the second read by the board. So it would have to be sometime after the first meeting in January, whenever that is.
So
Unless we wanted
February
to expedite
vacation?
it. Yeah,
I'm sorry, after February vacation, I'm not
yeah, I was
sure.
gonna say, unless do you feel strongly we should expedite it or something?
No, I think if you
Okay.
expedite it, you run the risk of people not knowing.
Yeah,
And then they get upset
yeah,
because
they
they
need
weren't
some more
told.
time to.
So they need time to digest it and expect it. I mean, Nate, Chad, do you have a suggestion on an effective date?
No, we've got, Garden Youth Basketball has already booked the gyms that they're going to book. So I think sometime before people start booking for the spring.
So maybe March 1st?
Yeah, and there really isn't a lot as far as gym wise that's being booked for the spring. I would be more concerned with the use of Hope Field for spring sports than anything else.
Okay.
So
And so March 1st would be right after the February break. And I just think a beginning of the month just makes it
And it
easier.
gives the public enough time to adjust to.
Right, okay.
Stick some people's head. Yep.
March 1, 2022.
Wow.
I know, wow. We'll be here before you
Is it-
know it.
Yeah.
Is it important to let people know this is coming? People sometimes have a hard time getting adjusted to change. It has to do with facilities
Well,
use.
if we're not going into March and we're doing the second reading next month, then say, after the second reading, hey, proposed changes coming, type of
And
thing.
I just really think that people will like it. They're not gonna like it probably anyway, but they'll like it more, the more time they have to adjust and read it and look at it. And
I do think letting the organizations who typically rent our facilities know
Mhm.
Yeah, they can read the minutes and see the drafts. I mean.
that they can have a copy of that. I mean, Nate, do you deal with most of those?
Yes. Yep, I can certainly give them a heads up if there's a.
Or when they sign up to use the facilities, could we
Reference it.
reference that there's a change
Yeah.
coming, or just so that so that we're
That's a
talking
good
about it
call.
all the way
Yeah.
up till,
Yeah.
so that nobody feels like something else is being done to them,
Yep. That sounds fair.
because that's not the intention.
Yeah.
You can have a seat. We're not at the school board meeting yet.
Okay. I'm just writing myself a note to do that, to notify the administrative assistants and the administrators to make sure that they notify facility users of the new proposed policy. So if I don't write it down, I won't remember it by tomorrow. So unfortunately, that's the way it's going these days. Okay, anything else with facility use? Sweet, all right, then,
Pretty easy.
easier than I thought. So yeah, we could return to the top of the agenda,
So back to JGAA.
JGAA.
Yep.
So the assignment of students to classes for 5-year-olds. And you can see I don't have any recommended changes at all.
Yeah.
Under JGAB, assignment of student classes and transfer students and homeschool students. The only recommended changes is that we remove consistent with the local assessment system. Local assessment systems no longer exist. That was a state mandate for a few years. They're no longer in place, so we don't need to have that language.
So
there.
Pat, there's no assessment whatsoever for a 4-year-old coming into kindergarten?
No, that's not what this is saying. We absolutely have those. They
Okay.
still have that done. This is officially what was called a local assessment system. It was done through the Department of Education. There was just things that were required for the entire district for all students. It wasn't specific to students entering the school. But since that mandate is no longer here, there's no point in having the language. That doesn't mean that assessments don't still occur. They absolutely do.
Gee, I did have one thing on JGAA, just to go
Okay.
back, just letter C on there. The right must be reserved to the school to administer testing as appropriate to making a proper determination of placement. I would want to change that either to in making or to make.
Yeah, I would do C
Yeah,
to make. I just think that's easier.
yeah.
Okay, all right, good catch.
Yeah.
Thank you. So then that brings us to JI. Your student rights and responsibilities. Again, we just got, or I got heavy-handed with MSAD11s.
Some pronouns to change.
Yeah,
Where's that? What?
Yeah, in E this and C this pronoun.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In E and C?
Yeah.
C, it would be a
Yeah.
inserted there, and E would be he, she,
C
they.
and E change pronouns. Thank you.
Yeah, and just remove the MSAD11.
Yeah. Great catch, thank you. Again, I'm comparing these to what is on Maine School Management's website. They haven't done that work yet.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just, sometimes I catch them and sometimes I don't, so thank you.
I did have a question on the last sentence on this one, which is, it's not intended to create, expand, or restrict any student rights or responsibilities. I guess just to clarify, it's designed for, for clarification, educational, informational purposes. And it doesn't, it's more like this states the rights that are there and not it's not creating like legislating new rights, is that what it's? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yep. Just naming the.
Just
process.
naming it,
Yep,
right.
okay.
Then JICB, care of school property by students. No proposed changes. Then JICC, student conduct on school buses. I did get the pronouns there.
No worries. Otherwise, yeah. looks-
Why were they highlighted?
I'm sorry,
Why were all the different things highlighted, the changes? Or is it just my copy?
it's just your copy.
You're fancy.
Yeah.
You're so fancy.
That is JICC.
JICC-R.
Oh, we're not there yet.
I'm sorry.
You're going ahead.
Well, it's because.
He's in a hurry.
Yeah, right?
Reading ahead.
It's okay.
Okay, so looking at JICC-RY, those are highlighted.
Sorry.
That's because I forwarded this policy to Gabe. And I said, Gabe, would you please go in and take a look at this and make sure that the policy aligns to current practice? And he highlighted.
There you go.
And I didn't go in and update and use our method.
So really, I mean, I used to take the bus. It doesn't appear that there's a lot that's changed in the many years that I rode bus. Being respectful, clear aisles, sitting face forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the expectations have been historically, but since I've been here, you're right. I mean, they haven't changed significantly.
However, my bus driver beeped the horn for me.
Well, and they have in the past, but sometimes, it takes a long time for students to come out and you're holding up traffic.
Right.
And traffic gets frustrated if you're waiting too long. So it's just kind of a practice that we've stopped. I mean, we slow down, but generally we ask that students are waiting out by the road. So.
Can't believe they stop at every single house here.
I know.
Right, it absolutely
Not where we
slows
grew
down.
up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
My bus stop is right across the street.
And Pat, there are other states that do things differently, and I didn't know if this was something that we could mandate. The school bus stops blocking the road. So no car can actually pass in either direction because the school bus is actually not pulled on alongside of the road, but actually blocking the road. And then when the students enter, the bus continues over into its lane and continues down again, but constantly blocks the path of oncoming cars in either direction, so the kids can get on the bus safely.
I've seen that. I don't know that in the state of Maine that is allowed. That would be a question for Gabe. Many of the buses now have arms that come out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And so the arms do exactly what you're talking about to prevent cars from passing. Yeah, and that's safer versus having the bus in the middle of the road. But that's a Gabe question. I don't know.
It looks like O has a question mark, vape.
Yeah, he put the question vape, but I left it there because I didn't know if you wanted to say specifically vape, but electronic smoking devices are vapes.
Yeah,
So I think that you're covered.
so probably, right?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
about that, yeah.
Right.
Comma there, the user aboard the bus or any other vehicle that is being used for a school-sponsored function.
Sorry, say that again.
So still on O, right before, so it says, or the highlight, or board the bus, or comma, or any other vehicle that is being used for a school-sponsored function. Should be a comma right after that. There's a lot of commas in there,
That's
but
a lot of commas. So, okay, so comma after function.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the
I can't
clause
do
or
it.
whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Pat, I had a question on S, and it might be a non-starter, but What if you bring in a hockey bag to school?
Mr. Kempton, you would know the rule, in hockey bags to school on the buses.
They generally don't bring hockey bags on the bus. Most of those kids have a hockey bags and they'll put them down by the locker room. Or they put them in the locker.
What if that's not possible though for the parent to do that? Would there be an exception?
I honestly haven't run across that yet. A lot of the kids will leave a lot of their equipment up at the ice arena. So there's not a big, there
Transfer.
hasn't been a big need for it.
And that's why I said I have no idea. I mean, our rink was across the street from the school, so we would walk over and stuff, but.
We have kids that bring golf clubs in, but they write in with the parents and they'll leave them in the office. Golf matches, but for the hockey stuff, most of it stays at the arena.
Okay, any other questions? Right, and that's all that we have. So I guess, Tony, if we could have a motion to send these as modified to the school board for a first reading.
So, yeah, I would make that motion to send these policies as modified to the school board for a
I'll
first
second
reading.
that.
All right, all in favor?
Great, thank you all. Great, 6:22. Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, so we'll transition.
Yep.
All right, I provided to you
And they had permanent service, they had SIP trunks.
Oh, yeah.
But they have